So Faryal, off to you. We are live.
Salam, Shalom, and Sastyakal, Namaste to everybody. My name is Faryal Khan, and I'm the Vice President of the American Muslim Women's Empowerment Council. It's an honor from the AMWEC team to welcome you to this virtual Interfaith Iftar during Ramadan. This is one of the most important months of the Islamic calendar year. Ramadan is a time when friends, families, communities come together to strengthen bonds of unity. In joining together, we deepen our understanding of our own faith and other people's faiths and actively participate in each other's cultures, traditions. In the words of the great Muhammad Ali, Muslim means one who surrenders to God. As President Obama stated during an interfaith iftar he hosted at the White House, this is a time of spiritual renewal and a reminder of one's duty to our fellow man to serve one another and lift up the less fortunate. We affirm that whatever our faith, we are all one family, and today this is more true than ever before. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, we were unable to host the iftar at the temple at Yahm, where Rabbi Gersh has always been so gracious in sharing their place of worship. But God willing, next time. I'd like to thank our AMWEC team for helping organize this iftar today. Aisha Bajwa, Anastasia, our Orthodox Christian sister, Busha Mateen, Deborah Cunningham, who's our Catholic sister, Dinah Frieden, who's our Jewish sister, Farid Zubair, Parveen Ahmed, Rubila Ishtiyaq, Sabahat Aziz, Sabine Zafar, Samina, Zeba Zebunissa, and above all, our fearless leader, Anila Ali. Without her leadership, these events would never have been possible. I'd also like to thank our volunteers, who are Zoha Malik, Rahim, and Zubia. With that, I'd like to hand this off to Bushra Mateen. Bushra?
Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. My dear friends, this is a very special occasion, Ramzan, first Sunday of Ramzan. And previously we have done it at the beautiful Temple Bat Yahm with the graciousness of Rabbi Gersh. And this year, because of these unfortunate circumstances, we are doing it online. But it's still a privilege that we are able to share our faith, our friendship, and we can do whatever we can to harmonize our community. And it's a privilege. Thank you so much for joining us and supporting us, AMWEC. And now back to you, Faryal. Faryal, you need to unmute yourself.
Dinah, it's off to you.
Jump in. Thank you. We are AMWEC, American Muslim Multi-Faith Women Empowerment Council. What we have in common is a passion for embracing diversity and building cultural bridges. I'm a Jewish woman, and I'm most comfortable in this organization. I share my traditions and my culture, and together we demonstrate inclusion. As an AMWEC board member, I am also a graduate of the FBI Citizens Academy, and it takes great pleasure for me to introduce and to welcome ADIC Paul Delacort, Fred Simon, Diane Gonzalez, and Adriana McCunnock. Let me also issue a very warm welcome to our rock star congresswomen who support us all the time. Longtime friend, Congresswoman Judy Chu, and the newest rock star, Congresswoman Katie Porter. Welcome, Ramadan Mubarak.
I think it's off to me. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. The month of fasting has come. I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to broadcast so my attendees can attend. And we're good now. Sorry, I'll start again. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, the month of fasting has come. The emperor's banner has arrived. Withhold your hand from food. The spirit's table has arrived. Rumi. Good evening. Salom shalom. Salamu alaikum. Namaste. Sasrikar. My name is Anila Ali, and I'm the president of American Muslim Multi-Faith Women's Empowerment Council, or as we say, AMWEC. It is an honor to host this event with Temple Bat Yahm, with whom we have a wonderful tradition of breaking bread during Ramadan, and this is the Iftar. On behalf of AMWEC, in partnership with Rabbi Gersh Zylberman and his congregation, let me welcome you all. This year, our houses of worship are closed, but we are together in spirit and over the internet. To make the most of this situation, from crisis and adversity, we will emerge as stronger individuals and as stronger communities. Gathered together from our homes, we are acknowledging together that even in these moments of physical isolation, we are not alone. This is what the month of Ramadan is about. It's about, regardless of COVID, coming together. As a woman of faith, to see the doors of the Holy Kaaba, the house of worship built by our patriarch Abraham, closed, is nothing short of a sign from God that we cannot rely on the comforts of modern life to sustain us. The closed doors of Holy Kaaba are a call to be more, yes, God conscious, to understand that God wants us to be mindful of each other, especially in moments of crisis, and to be better to one another, especially when times are tough. One lesson that COVID-19 has reminded me of is that even though there are differences amongst us, we are all humans. Each and every one of us is equally capable of getting COVID-19. It sees no difference in religion, race, gender, sexual orientation, or any other discerning human trait. Because we breathe, we can get it. It teaches us that we are fragile, but we are also, in the grand scheme of things, we come together. We're also together. In the grand scheme of things, I say, we can be truly exceptional. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the many of you who have joined us, partnered with us, and the list is very long, so I'll start. Anti-Defamation League, the Orange County Long Beach chapter, Olive Tree Initiative, Human Options, OC Sheriff and his Interfaith Advisory, LAPD's Commander Kowalski, FBI and FBI Citizens Academy, Islamic Education Center of Orange County, Madina Islamic Center, Combat Anti-Semitism, Father Alexie of Archdiocese of LA, Jewish Collaboration of Orange County, California Southern University, Music in Common, Sister Sarah and Sarah for Hope Sisters, Pakistan Link, our media partners, OC Turkish Association, Jewish Coalition for Refugees, Sister Judy of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, Mayor of Irvine, Christina Shea, federal, local law enforcement agencies, our friends at the DOJ and USCIS, all of you, thank you so much for joining us. And all the people that are watching us globally, welcome. I ask that today we give thanks to those serving on the front lines of this global pandemic and that we pray for their good health and success. We offer gratitude to our first responders, healthcare workers, delivery drivers, postal carriers, teachers, grocery shoppers, and everyone who is contributing to our society's ability to remain strong and healthy. Today, we are standing in solidarity with the Poway Jewish community marking the one-year anniversary of the shooting in Chabad in San Diego. Today, we also remember the innocent lives lost by the Islamic State loyalists in a Sikh temple in Afghanistan during COVID on March 23rd. We shall never forget these horrors, and we stand together with the people of faith to build these bridges. We also pray for a successful treatment and vaccine for the virus. As the Prophet Muhammad said, there is no disease that Allah has created except that He also has created its treatment. On that hopeful note, I would like to welcome my co-host, a great friend of the Muslim community, Rabbi Gersh Zylberman, to offer his welcoming remarks. Off to you.
You're on, Rabbi.
Alaikum salam, or as we say in Hebrew, shalom aleichem. It's great to see everyone here. It's not how we had planned it to be. Originally, when Anila Ali and I spoke a couple of months ago, we thought it would be just as we have done it the last several years, all together, looking forward to a wonderful banquet as the fast concludes with this Iftar occasion. But as we've clearly seen, the world has changed a lot since last year and even since a couple of months ago. We find ourselves together, but virtually, together on this wonderful platform of Zoom with folks locally and from around the country and around the world. So much has changed. Yet there are some things that haven't changed. I was reminded of this just a few days ago when I needed to help one of my daughters with a science project. She was asked to keep track of the moon and to see what its shape was so she would better understand the way the moon and the sun and the earth rotate. And we went out just a few days ago and we saw the crescent moon signaling the beginning of a new month. For Muslims around the world, the beginning of the holiest month of Ramadan. For Jews, the beginning of the month of Iyar. You see, the Jewish calendar and the Muslim calendar are based on the cycle of the moon. And even though so much has changed here on earth, the cycle continues. About 10 years ago, Ramadan fell over our high holy days. And we fasted together on Yom Kippur and Ramadan fast. And because the Hebrew calendar adjusts with an extra leap month every so often, our Hebrew calendar, although it's lunar, stays in sync with the seasons. And so over these last 10 years, we now find ourselves sharing the springtime months with Ramadan. And so we find ourselves during the period known as the counting of the Omer, a period in which we count the days from Passover, the festival of our freedom, to Shavuot, the festival of receiving the Torah. We count the days from liberation to responsibility. And what more do we need to be reminded of than the balance between liberation and responsibility right now? We so much want to be liberated from the confines of our homes, be able to return to our regular activities and work, to celebrate special occasions like Ramadan and our Jewish festivals with our extended family and friends. Yet at the tail end of the counting of the Omer is Shavuot, reminding us of our responsibility to protect the health of each other, our responsibility to give thanks for those who are on the front lines in the medical community, those who are working in essential functions like stocking the grocery stores and making sure we're all fed, keeping the electricity running, and the internet. Imagine if the internet went down. we'd be in big trouble then. So Ramadan and Iyar have begun. The Jewish calendar and the Muslim calendar continue to cycle through the months according to the cycle of the moon. So much has changed, yet so much is the same. It's my prayer that this Ramadan brings us together even more than those in the past, that we remember that we have so much more in common than what sets us apart. A belief in a higher power, a belief in the responsibility of supporting others through tzedakah in Hebrew, or sadak, and the responsibility to ensuring that our world can improve and can be at peace. And so I wish all the Muslim friends, all of our friends here and around the world, a Ramadan Mubarak, a wonderful, blessed, and peaceful Ramadan, not only for the Muslim world, but for the whole world. I want to thank Anila Ali and all the folks at AMWEC, all the co-host institutions that have already been mentioned. I want to thank and acknowledge all my rabbinic colleagues and cantors, including rabbinic colleagues and cantors at Temple Bat Yahm. And I'd like to acknowledge all the clergy from a wide variety of faiths, not just Muslim and Jewish faith, but a whole variety of faiths. Wish you all many blessings, safety, and health. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Gersh. Next, I will ask our Sikh brother, CJ, to sing something beautiful for us.
Assalamu alaikum, namaskar, sat shri akal. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank American Muslim Women's Empowerment Council, AMWEC, for inviting me to this beautiful Iftar evening one more time. And I feel humbly honored to be one. Thank you, Anila. Thank you for Yahm and the entire AMWEC team for spreading so much of love within different communities and different cultures. Everyone is involved, and you do this every year. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Tonight I'm gonna sing a Shabad. Shabad is a prayer, a hymn in Sikhism, and this is about our 10th Guru, our 10th Prophet, the master of Sikhism, Shri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib, who recited this Shabad, the hymn, in remembrance of his two sons, whom he had lost right before his eyes while fighting for the Sikhism. So I'm going to be presenting that opening this evening for you guys. Hope you guys enjoy it, and please join me in this. तुद बिन रोग रजाया दा ओडन तुद बिन रोग रजाया दा ओडन नाग निवासा दिरेना नाग निवासा दिरेना तेरी प्यारी हाल मुरीदां दा कहना हाल मुरीदां दा कहना तेरी प्यारी सूल सुराही खंजर प्याला बिंग कसाइयां दा सेना बिंग कसाइयां दा सेना तेरी प्यारी हाल मुरीदां दा कहना तेरी प्यारी यारड़े दा सानू साथरी चंगा यारड़े दा सानू साथरी चंगा पट खेड़ियां दा रहना पट खेड़ियां दा रहना तेरी प्यारी हाल मुरीदां दा कहना हाल मुरीदां दा कहना तेरी प्यारी तेरी प्यारी Thank you so much, and Ramadan Mubarak to all of you. It's mute. I think your microphone is mute.
I'm going to ask Brother Jason Feddy, Music in Common, to sing yet another beautiful song to bring us together and warm our hearts.
Can you repeat again, Anila? I think nobody heard it.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yes, awesome. Ramadan Mubarak to everybody, and thank you very much for having me, and thank you, Anila. It's very, very kind of you. And we had such big plans, as Rabbi Gersh said. You know, I was hoping that CJ, that was so beautiful, and I was hoping that we could do a thing together and bring the kids from Music in Common, and you know, sadly, here we are. So we just make the most of it, don't we? And many of you know what Music in Common is all about. We bring together young people of diverse backgrounds together for weekends, usually, of songwriting and discussion, and they learn a lot, and they have transformative experiences. You can find out about Music in Common online at musicincommon.org, but I've been invited to sing to you, so I shall. In 2013, just to give you the basics for this song, Music in Common went to the Middle East, not the first time, to work with Arab and Jewish students from 6 high schools and 1 college throughout Israel and the Palestinian territories. Students wrote new verses to the song Shalom Salam, obviously peace in Hebrew and Arabic, written on a previous tour. The 7 schools were divided into 4 groups. This is how this thing was written. And each group was asked to come up with a new verse for this song, answering 2 questions. What is peace and how is it created? And at the end of the program, all 7 schools came together to assemble the verses, meeting for the first time and completing the new song. So this is one song written by 7 groups of kids, ostensibly. And I hope you like it. So I'm just going to switch the view here, because then you'll be able to see me better and I'll be able to read the words. You'll see what I mean in a sec. Here we go. There we go. Here I am. Shalom, salam, shalom, salam. Choose not to hate, you hold the key to be the change. Words must lead the way. Putting down others won't make you higher. We're all equal at the end of the day. Change the world, we change drive hate from our hearts. Let love shine in. Accept each other, to respect the other. Love ourselves so a new life can begin. Shalom, salam, shalom, salam. I think this song is all the more poignant when you think that these kids, this is the second language they were writing in. You guess me every time. When the power of love beats the power of hate, and peace is more than a word. We all live in the same house. Have faith, our voices will be heard. When you don't listen, the world won't turn around. Tell me your story, I'll tell you mine. Color me with your love, step by step. Leave hate behind, leave hate behind, leave hate behind, leave hate behind. And shalom, salam, shalom, salam, shalom, salam, shalom, salam.
Thank you, Jason. That was beautiful. I'm going to learn that and sing it to my students.
It's going to be stuck in your head all night long, I promise you.
I know. I love the tune. It's beautiful and the words are lovely. Next, I would like to ask our Hollywood famous Pakistani star Iqbal Teba to say a few words on this beautiful gathering.
Oh, hi, Anila. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Anila. Thank you, everyone. The music was beautiful. Assalamu alaikum to all. Sat Sri Akal, Waheguru Ji Ki Jai. Shalom. Welcome, everyone. Usually people read stuff from Quran, usually during Ramadan. But I found this little poem that I wanted to read, written by one of my favorite philosophers, poet, humanist, Rabindranath Tagore, the Indian, and he was from India. And I wanted to read that because it represents the true essence of what Quran is about, which is compassion and mercy. And it goes like this: go not to the temple to light candles before the altar of God. First, remove the darkness of sin, pride, and ego from your heart. Go not to the temple to bow down your head in prayer. First, learn to bow in humility before your fellow men and apologize to those you have wronged. Go not to the temple to pray on bended knees. First, bend down to lift someone who is downtrodden and strengthen the young ones, not crush them. Go not to the temple to ask for forgiveness for your sins. First, forgive from your heart those who have hurt you. Thank you. Thank you so much. For some reason, I can't hear you. Let me.
Unmuting. Thank you, Iqbal. We're going to ask you to stay on. There are some questions from our viewers locally and globally that are, if you have time, please stay on after the iftar to answer. I've asked everybody to keep dates and some water next to them that are fasting. I know that we have Congresswoman Judy Chu here, and I wouldn't like her to wait as long as she's scheduled at 6:45. So Congresswoman, would you like to go on? I know that you have a tight schedule, but you are always there for the Muslim community and for all our communities.
Yes. There we go. Well, hello and Ramadan Mubarak. For millions of Muslims here in the US and around the world, this is such an important holy month of reflection, charity, and spirituality. And thank you, Anila, Ali, for always being in the forefront and making sure that we continue to have this event, regardless of the circumstances that we find ourselves in. This is such an incredible opportunity to celebrate with community through iftar dinners. In my district in Southern California, where diversity is a point of pride, I always look forward to iftar dinners because of the way the entire interfaith community comes together each year. And in times like this, when it's impossible for us to gather in person, I'm so moved to see the way people have come together to recreate the feeling of community, even when quarantined at home. So thank you for hosting this and for all of you who have joined to make this so special. Unfortunately, even before the quarantine, many families were already separated and unable to celebrate not only Ramadan together, but weddings, graduations, funerals, and more thanks to President Trump's hateful Muslim ban. This cruel ban has been tearing families apart since the first version was implemented over 3 years ago. We are now in the third version of this ban, and in January, the president even announced an expansion to 6 more countries. This hateful policy hurts families, hurts our national security, and stokes xenophobia, which we know can have violent and dangerous impacts. And that is why I have made it my mission to repeal these bans and why I introduced HR 2214, the No Ban Act, to do just that. This bill will not only repeal all versions of President Trump's Muslim ban, putting an immediate end to family separations, it will also change our laws so that no future president can implement a similar ban without providing evidence of an actual threat. This will ensure that no individuals are denied entry to the US based solely on their religion. Now, we've had incredible response. 480 groups endorsed it. 32 senators are co-sponsors. And in the House, we have 218 members of Congress that are co-sponsors, enough to ensure passage. Now, I have to tell you, we have pushed it so far that there was a hearing in Judiciary, and in fact, the bill was set to come to the floor, and then the coronavirus pandemic hit, and everything in Congress shifted to address that crisis. Still, I have been assured by Majority Leader Steny Hoyer that this will be a priority for the House, and it will come to the floor when we return to normal business. Well, It only got that far because of the advocacy of the Muslim community. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud to stand with the Muslim community, and I'm so pleased I could join to take part in today's Interfaith Iftar. This is the perfect example of why we must keep fighting to preserve an America where diversity is a strength and not a weapon to divide us. And the unity and community I see today are how we will get there. So thank you again, and Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you, Congresswoman Judy Chu. You're not only a friend of the Muslim community, you're a friend of all Americans. And I love your advocacy. You're our role model. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are going to ask Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes to say a few words on this occasion. I'm just going to unmute, sir.
Thank you very much. And it's my privilege to be with you this evening. Ramadan Mubarak, and it is a great privilege to be here. Last year, I had the privilege of going to 4 Iftar dinners throughout Orange County, and the celebrations were immense. Some of my friends will be on this celebration here tonight. I'm very proud of what we've accomplished in Orange County with our Interfaith Council. And we have a wide variety of faith traditions that participate in our meetings. Many of our friends, my friends, are on today on this teleconference, I guess is what we'll call it. We have many different faiths, but we have one community in Orange County. And when we hear of some of the tragedies that happened throughout the world last year in San Diego and just recently on the Sikh community, we do not see these as individual attacks. We see them as attacks on our whole community, regardless of their faith tradition. And we stand together, united. We lift each other up, and we share the pain as one community. And so it's my privilege to be part of the Interfaith Council in Orange County and be part of this celebration here this evening. I know it's somewhat unorthodox and a little different to have to do it this way, but like many things and like all things, we will get through this. And thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you today. And Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Don Barnes, for taking the time to be with us and join us in breaking fast with our interfaith community. Next, I would like to ask Sitara Atai. She's a Hollywood Afghan-American actress, and she's going to be and I'm glad that Congresswoman Judy Chu is here, and we also have Representative Katie Porter here somewhere. I'm just trying to work that out. So if we could all unite and listen to Sitara's message. Sitara, off to you. Oh, I have to, yes, sorry.
No problem. Hello, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. I would like to first thank Anila and everybody that's here today. This is absolutely wonderful, especially during these times. This gives each and every one of us strength. Ramadan Mubarak to everybody. I am an Afghan-born American actress, as Anila introduced me, and I would like to take a moment to go back to my early years when I lived in Kabul, Afghanistan, and when I used to play, laugh, have a good time with my Sikh Afghan neighbors. So naturally, when I heard about the attacks at the Sikh temple in Kabul not too long ago, it hurt me on a very deep and personal level. This senseless and absolute horrendous tragedy is absolutely beyond comprehension for anybody just like myself. I'm here to express my solidarity to all Sikh brothers and sisters all around the world. Also, the one-year observance of the Chabad shooting in San Diego is still fresh in all of our hearts. So I would like to ask everybody today to come and join hands and hearts virtually to pray for the victims in a moment of silence. Silence, thank you.
Let's raise our hands and pray however we wish for those that have lost their lives, innocent lives lost. Thank you all. Ameen, as we all say. I know that next up is our ADIC, Paul Delacort, FBI ADIC, but he hasn't logged in. We have lots of friends from FBI. I might just have them say a few words right after we move on with our esteemed clergy. So Pastor Ken Wyant, we ask you to take the stage.
Good evening. We are participating today to celebrate tolerance, but tolerance is only the first step, and we're invited beyond tolerance to affirmation. The difference is subtle but important. Would you prefer to go where you are tolerated or where you are affirmed? Among most of my Christian sisters and brothers, I would find tolerance for myself, my beliefs, and my practices, and I would expect tolerance in most places I go. But it is more rewarding to be among people of many faiths who do not merely tolerate me, but also welcome and affirm me. The difference between tolerance and affirmation is like the difference between saying, I see how your practice adds meaning to your spiritual life, compared with saying our spiritual life is enhanced by participating with all of you in this practice. Thank you for the affirmation and sharing this iftar. Amen.
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 Amen. Thank you, Pastor Ken Wyant. I'm going to ask our partners, ADL and Peter, Rabbi Peter Levi, to go next. And I must unmute.
Great, thank you, and Ramadan Mubarak to all. May this time of fasting and feasting, with its emphasis on patience and forgiveness and compassion, be both meaningful and joyous to all. And I know an iftar is a celebration and somewhat of a festival, but I have to admit, personally, I'm sort of mourning the loss of not being with you all, of breaking this daily fast and with a date and that sweet tea and all that wonderful Pakistani food. I'm really missing it, and I asked Anila to send me recipes, which she hasn't sent yet. But I'm looking forward to it. It's strange, you know, myself mourning the loss of being with all, but grateful for we're able to do this way. I'm reminded on the Jewish calendar, there's mourning where we read a text that starts with, lonely sits the city, it's great with people, is great among nations, has become like and the text, the ancient scripture is talking about the loneliness of a destroyed Jerusalem. But it's interesting about the lonely city that was once filled with people. Word for lonely, badad, in the ancient Hebrew is the modern word for quarantine. So everyone who in Israel, right, who's talking about quarantine, they're using this term. So it brings us back to what it means to be trapped in our home with a certain type of loneliness, yes, but we like this plague of this coronavirus in our house, in our country. Even though here we are, and this plague is just like the story that the Jewish people all around the world just told in the story of the ancient Israelites' exodus from Egypt. There were 10 plagues, and the 10th final horrific one being death. But the plague that immediately preceded that was the plague of darkness. But it was an unusual darkness. In the book of Exodus, it says that God said to Moses, stretch out your hand towards the heavens, that there may be a darkness over the land of Egypt, a darkness that can be felt. And this is an entirely different type of darkness. How could you touch darkness? It's clearly not a darkness which is simply a lack of visible light. It's not a physical condition of the environment. it was more understood as a moral or spiritual darkness. In fact, the great teachers, the sages in our tradition say that it was a darkness that was so dense that the people couldn't see one another, which meaning that they couldn't see their neighbors. They couldn't see their distress. They couldn't see their needs. Right? And that's a darkness that I fear that we're feeling in our world now, where we're not seeing the distress of our neighbors. And God willing, that in this plague of coronavirus, of darkness, that gatherings like this one, which unfortunately is happening virtually, but the beauty is that we can see each other. So I hope that we're all committed to taking on this challenge of dispelling the darkness, of seeing one another, and being committed to always seeing one another, to pushing aside the hate and bigotry that divides us, and seeing every marginalized group. And a Ramadan Mubarak, a Ramadan of blessing to you all.
Thank you, Rabbi Peter Levy. I just got word from ADIC. He is on ADIC FBI, but I'm not able to see his name as registered. So if my friends Diane Gonzalez, if you're on, if you can just tell me how ADIC is showing up, I will be happy to include him in the panelist list. We have problems with the logins that you do. So I apologize for that. I'll work that out. But in the meantime, perhaps we could have a interfaith song by our favorite Rabbi, no offense to everybody else, Rabbi Marsha Tilchin.
Can you hear me? I'm unmuted. Great. Thank you. Well, first of all, I just want to, two things I want to say, Anila, and to everybody, how honored I am and humbled to be part of this incredibly special experience. And I wanted to bring my family to the moment. And so I invited old Scott to do a reading, and then my daughters to sing a little song with me. Is that okay? This is a prayer for peace that we would sing. And I also just want to acknowledge how grateful I am that we are able to remember today those who were senselessly killed in Poway a year ago. I feel that being in this gathering is a tribute to the highest of all religious connection, and you're making that possible. So thank you.
Thank you.
It's a prayer for peace. May we see a day when war and bloodshed cease, when a great peace will embrace the whole world.
Then nation will not threaten nation, and mankind will not know again no war.
For all who live on earth will realize that we have not come into being to hate or destroy. We have come into being to praise, to labor, and to love.
Compassionate God, bless the leaders of all nations with the power of compassion.
Fulfill the promise conveyed in all scripture. I will bring peace to the land, and you shall lie down, and no one will harm you.
I will rid the land of vicious beasts, and it shall not be ravaged by war.
Let love and justice flow like a mighty stream. Let peace fill the earth as the waters fill the sea. And we all say, Amen. So this song is about peace. It's very short. It's called Circle Chant, and I brought the choir. Here's the choir. And I hope you like it. Are we ready? Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul. For the children of our children, keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace. For all of us in prison, circle for release. Circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for
for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole.
May we keep the circle whole together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Tilchen. Next, I'm going to ask Priest. Just want to check. I know our ADIC is on, and I'm having a hard time identifying him because he's calling in by phone. So while I do that, can I hear if the ADIC has been unmuted? I guess not. I'm working on that. So with that, I ask Priest Zarir Bandara from the Zoroastrian community to say a few words.
And Ramzan Mubarak. I bring you the greetings of peace and unity from the oldest rebel religion of the world, Zoroastrianism. I thank the organizers Anila Ali, the American Muslims Multi-Faith Women's Empowerment Council, and Temple Bat Yahm for this Iftar Interfaith meeting. I would like to begin with a few glimpses from our history. In 936 AD, when Zoroastrians fled their homeland, Persia, to seek asylum in India, the Indian king sent a bowl full of milk, indicating that his kingdom is full. And there was no place to accommodate the Zoroastrians. The Zoroastrian high priest poured sugar in the bowl of milk and sent it back to the king, indicating that we will merge in our country, maintaining our individuality, sweetness, and spread the same in your country, which the Zoroastrians did and continued to do so. Well-known Zoroastrians mentioned in the Holy Quran and Holy Bible are Dastur Dinyar, Salman Fars, as the most revered companion of Prophet Muhammad, may be peace upon him. Holy Quran, chapter 16, paragraph 105. The Messiah or the Savior mentioned in the Old Testament, Zoroastrian King Cyrus, who helped our Jewish community to rebuild their temples in Jerusalem in 538 BC. He also gave them the freedom to practice their own religion. As many of our forefathers have demonstrated, peace begins with a loving understanding of ourselves and other human beings, human doings and all living beings, including plants, animals, and all natural resources. Energy flows where the attention goes. So it is important to be conscious about what we think, speak, and do. Our individual actions affect us and affects the whole universe. That is why one of the main tenets of our religion includes good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. God can be seen and revealed in many different ways, which is why we have different religions. We believe that the religion we have taken birth in is the path God has prescribed for us to attain our purest light and progress physically and spiritually. We have different religions, different paths, but one goal. We are diverse, yet we need to be united. Just like in nature, everything is diverse, yet works in synchronization. Even within our religions, we have different beliefs, but we do not allow our differences to divide us, but to unify and strengthen us. Live and let live, thereby we will bring more peace, unity, harmony, love, and healing in the world. Just like the story of milk and sugar, we can spread sweetness of peace, maintaining our own individuality in the ocean of humanity. Thank you all. God bless you.
Thank you. Somebody has the phone on unmute, if you don't mind muting it. I am in communication with Representative Katie Porter, who is here by phone. So we're going to ask her to join. I hope that I have unmuted her. Are you here, Representative Porter?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Welcome.
Thank you. I don't know why you can't see me, but it might be better. So I'll take that for a Sunday afternoon. Thank you to everyone for having me. This is a wonderful event, and I'm sorry that we're not able to join together in person this year, but Ramadan Mubarak to everyone, and I am very happy to join the American Muslim and Multi-Faith Women's Empowerment Council for this annual Interfaith Iftar. I know that Ramadan, always a time of personal challenge, is coming at a particularly challenging time this year. And with social distancing in effect, this year's Ramadan is going to look very different as we all continue to be mindful of the health and well-being of ourselves and others, and to stay home when possible and continue to do our part to keep each of us safe. While our houses of worship are closed, our hearts, now more than ever, should remain open to the needs of our neighbors. I encourage each one of you to use this Ramadan to take time to reflect on how we are stronger when we care for each other. And I hope that all Americans, regardless of their faith, are using this pandemic as an opportunity to make that same reflection about how we are stronger when we care for each other. Many of us have loved ones working on the front line of this pandemic. They're caring for individuals who are in the hospital, and others are serving the needs of our most vulnerable populations or are working in other essential jobs. When we are united together to serve our community, we will succeed and we will become stronger in the effort. So please remember that we can build the community that we want, one that celebrates our diversity, one that builds on our commonalities, and one that stands against hate and unites in peace. I hope this time of reflection that this Ramadan can serve as an opportunity for all of us to draw strength from the blessings in our lives, our faiths, our families, our communities, our freedoms. May we find comfort in the presence of our loved ones. May each of you have a happy and healthy Ramadan, and may this Ramadan, although different than others, be as bright as ever. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Representative Porter. Thank you for bypassing all these technical difficulties and giving us your precious time. Thank you. Next, I would like to ask our actress and our activist from Pakistan who's joining us at this very early hour in Pakistan. It is 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. So I'm going to ask Maria Wasti to say a few words. Thank you for joining, Maria.
Yeah, it's really early in the morning, and I want to say hello, assalamu alaikum, namaste, sasyakal, shalom to everybody. And it is amazing to see this, Anila, what you've done. And, I'm very happy and privileged to be a part of this interfaith collaboration that you've done. And I want to, I want to say hi to all my Jewish and Christian brothers and sisters, my Sikh, Indians and Muslims and Hindus and everybody, from all over the world who are there. It's a great platform to come together, especially in these hours when this horrifying COVID-19 is engulfing us and, terrorizing us. A lot has changed, but it is also making us realize what we have, what we had, and it is also making us think about the priorities in our lives. Maybe we were just not thinking about those things that we are thinking about now. How important we all are, our relationships are to one another, our friends, our lives, how our lives are important and what we are doing with our lives. That is very, very important. It's a time to reflect on what we want to be, who we are, and how we want our lives to be. So I know this is a very difficult time for everybody all around the world. It is a very, very confusing time, but it is also a time to reflect back and see what we have done and what we are doing and what we are going to do. Well, I'm an actor with television and film and stage, and being with art, it's any artist would know that art is supposed to disturb you. It's supposed to create an emotion in you, and what artists do is show you like a mirror They're like a mirror to the society, and they show you what is happening around you. They show you how the revolutions have been, how much blood has been shed, what atrocities have been committed. So, you know, and art, I feel, is the soul of life that we create, life that we live, life that we bring in the world. So it's like art is basically a gene, you know, it's more, for me, it's more of a genetic combination to what, you know, whatever you want to call your life is. Well, apart from that, I also try to raise my voice for women rights, you know, and child abuse, animal abuse, injustices, all whatever is happening. Because you see, whenever you raise a voice for some injustice that is happening, you never think about their caste, you know, or their religion or their nationality. Because I feel that, like art, you know, it is humanity, and life is above all faiths and all religions. Everything in this world is because of humanity and because of life, you know, my life and your life. That is very important. And I also feel that it breaks my heart to see that how Islam is distorted and you know, misinterpreted all over the world, and the hate and the pain, everything is causing the confusion. So I mean, like, seeing all that, I took it upon me to read my own Quran myself with detailed interpretations and translations in English and Urdu and Arabic, just to know. And let me tell you, the more I'm reading about it, the more I know that Islam and all the other religions, all of them, all faiths, all religions, including Islam, is all about peace. All the misconceptions are just distorted perceptions and distorted beliefs by fault, by default, or for a reason. So I just want to say that it is a privilege to be here in Anila, because interfaith, while all this is happening all around the world, it is very, very important to connect. Humanity and humans from all over the world have to connect. It is very, very important, because that is the only way we're going to save ourselves and we're going to save this world. So I hope this thread that you have started is not going to end, and we will be interconnected like this, hopefully forever. Thank you.
Amen to that. Thank you, Maria. I know it's very early, so but you have a lot of fans waiting who have questions for you. So I'll ask you to just hang in there for a little bit after we finish Iftar. The next up is a talk show host. She's married to a first responder. Her husband is a doctor. She's a Pakistani American doctor, and she is Leslie Marshall. She's a talk show host, and I'm unmuting her and asking her to say a few words.
Assalamu alaikum. Also, Ramadan Mubarak. And thank you, Anila, for having me here. This is just wonderful to be a part of this. I feel that I fit in very well here because I have a Jewish parent. Shalom to all the Jewish people here. I have a Christian parent. Hello to all the Christian people here. And I married a Muslim, and I already said ASA. And so my house is pretty much the UN. And I have to say that, you know, having a Jewish and Christian background, I was familiar with Lent through Christianity. I was familiar with Passover and Yom Kippur and fasting and prayer from both Judaism and from Christianity. What I learned from my husband's family, and my husband is, Anila is correct, he is a physician, he's a first responder, and he is a Muslim, is that in this month, it is a time for reflection of yourself and how you present yourself outwardly to the world, a reflection and a strengthening perhaps of your relationship with God, with Allah, and certainly, you know, definitely a time for reflection, because you're giving up something that's difficult and essential for human beings, which is, you know, the whole time and from the early in the morning until, you know, sunrise to sunset, not having not just food, but not having water as well. I think one of the things that, and I'm certainly not Pollyanna, I'm normally a pessimist, sadly, but I think one of the things with COVID-19, with the coronavirus, forcing us to shelter in place, forcing us not to be able to be with family and friends for Iftar, for those that celebrate as Muslims or for those that are invited by Muslim family and friends, is it forces us in a sense, I think, to have more time for that reflection. For me, I work on national television. I have a national radio show. I write a national column, and actually they're all international. And I normally travel twice a month to New York and to DC to the network. And, you know, I'm here with my family, and my husband is not, operating as much because of the restrictions placed currently because of COVID-19 at the hospital. We did a huge Zoom with his brothers and his parents and aunts and uncles and cousins yesterday. And we normally wouldn't have the time for that. We normally wouldn't be able to take the time for that. So I think one of the good things, if you will, that this virus has forced all of us to do in staying home is, even if you're not Muslim, to have that time of reflection, to have that time of peace, to have that clarity of what's really important in your life. And I know it, certainly when I'm traveling, whether I miss my flight and can get to LAX on time, is my Uber driver going to pick me up on time, seems important. And it's not. And this helps, I think, all of us to reprioritize our relationship with our families, with ourselves, where we stand in the world, and also, our relationship with our Creator. And that's one of the things that I think is absolutely beautiful about Ramadan. But I also feel that during this time of sheltering in place, it pushes us to do that, to have that reflection, to have that time of prayer, and to have that time of clarity, because we have less distractions in our lives as we normally would at this time of Ramadan, without having to shelter in place and without having to deal with COVID-19. Anila, I thank you for having me as a part of this. I am honored and flattered to be among so many wonderful individuals from so many different faiths throughout not just our country, the world. Maria's in Pakistan, right? Where I adopted my son from, the ED Foundation in Karachi.
Wow.
So I lived there.
I plan to do that too.
You do? You should do it. It's awesome. I love him. He's great. But so thank you for having me included in this today. I'm really honored.
Thank you for taking the time to be here. I know you're busy, but we know that you are our Jerusalem sister. I have 3 of my Jerusalem sisters. We call ourselves the Jerusalem sisters on the board. Deborah Cunningham-Sternick, who's Catholic, and Dinah, who is Jewish. So we always go around saying, well, if we can get along, so can everybody else. So I would like to now move on and ask Father Alexie, who is a dear friend of the AMWEC Muslim community, and if he would like to say a few words on Ramadan on this beautiful occasion. Did I just lose you, Father Alexie? I may have lost him. Oh, there you are. Thank you, Father.
Thank you. Thank you, Anila, for having me. Nice to see you all.
Nice to see you too.
It's occurred to me that this spring is not only an unusual spring in that we have the coronavirus, but it's also a time when the 3 major Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, and Islam, all have major religious holidays, with Passover, Easter, and now Ramadan. All of these holidays are designed to bring us to a closer relationship with our Creator. But it's also the fact that they're occurring during spring now. Spring is a time of renewal and growth and recommitment. And I think if all of us, whether you're one of the Abrahamic faiths or not, all of us could commit ourselves to being a brother and a sister to everyone else, I think that would have a wonderful effect on all of our societies at this time. Thank you very much for having me. Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you. Thank you, Father Alexie, for joining us. I'm still trying to troubleshoot how to get our ADIC in. I'm quite unable. ADIC, are you able to hear us? Perhaps not. With that, I'm going to turn the podium to our Imam, our friend from the IEE COC, Imam Qazwini. I know it's a bit early, but you know, we're on different time zones. Okay, one more time, one more try. Okay.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I begin in the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May I send you greetings of peace, mercy, and blessing. First of all, I want to thank you, Anila and the team at AMWEC for putting this together. I know last year was my first time presenting and attending, and it was such a special gathering and a special occasion that I really was looking forward to being there, having us all there in person again at Temple Bat Yahm. And I want to extend my thanks to Rabbi Zylberman and his team for being gracious enough to host us this time around as well. And I'm sure the next time, well, I hope that the next time we're able to do this, it's in person and it's going to be lovely as ever. Also, just an honor for me to be on a panel with so many people that we're able to see on a regular basis. People who are also on the front line in government and in the healthcare system and in law enforcement, who really set a great example for us. We really appreciate you and we love the work that you do. And I want to start by saying that on behalf of myself and our community at the Islamic Educational Center of Orange County, we stand in solidarity with the Sikh community, a community that has given us nothing but love and inspiration and kindness and brotherhood and friendship. So we're thinking about you during this time, during these times. Last year, I talked a little bit about the purpose of fasting from the perspective of the Quran. And the Quran tells us that the purpose of fasting is to attain taqwa, which is God consciousness, and what it means to have or to attain God consciousness. And I cited a number of examples through history, specifically people of one faith who were conscious of the needs and aware of the needs of people of other faiths. So one example was Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a Christian man who came to the needs of his Jewish brethren in Germany. Also Mahatma Gandhi, Elie Wiesel. These are people of faiths who came together, came in their own capacity in order to come to the aid of people of other faiths. And as our dear Representative Katie Porter said, you know, when we're together, we are stronger, and that is true. And I'm a big Katie Porter fan, just to kind of put that out there, especially with everything that she's been doing recently and being an influencer in the healthcare system. So thank you for that. So when we come together, truly we are stronger. And it's wonderful that even though we are physically distant from one another right now, spiritually we are close. And this is what the month of Ramadan allows us to do, is to become spiritually close even though we are physically distant. So, you know, besides the threat of racial and religious discrimination that the world experiences today, and those are challenges that are sort of ongoing, today we face a challenge which we cannot see with our naked eye. A challenge which does not discriminate between the rich and the poor, the old and the young, whatever religious background you come from, whatever ethnic background you come from. And so something that is so small that cannot be seen with the naked eye has given us 20/20 vision. And what I mean by that is that it has opened our eyes to maybe things that we have taken for granted, such as the ability to gather and to congregate, the ability to give each other hugs, pats on the backs, high fives. I mean, isn't that the point of congregation? Isn't that the point of coming together in houses of worship? And so sometimes we take certain tasks or certain pleasures, we take them for granted. And so our eyes are now open to what we used to take for granted. So I want to share with you something. This is a quote from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And this comes directly from a sermon that he delivered on the last day before the beginning of the month of Ramadan. It's known as Prophet Muhammad's sermon on the last day of Sha'ban, and Sha'ban is the month before Ramadan. And I had read this passage so many times, but it really didn't strike me as something outstanding until I read it this time around. And he says, quote, "Ask Allah your Lord, therefore, with sincere intentions and with pure hearts, to enable you to fast during it," unquote. And I thought about that. What does it mean for God to enable you to fast? Obviously, people who cannot fast for physical reasons are exempt. But sometimes we take physical ability for granted. We take our physical health for granted. And something as small as a virus can come in and shock the system and completely collapse the system. So I began to think about the idea of having ability and how much of a blessing that is from God. Just physical ability. I was speaking to a couple of friends recently, a husband and wife, and the wife is a teacher, and she's teaching her elementary age children through Zoom, and she's about to give birth within the next month. So I was asking them what their plans were, and she stated that as soon as she gives birth, she plans to go back to teaching. And so I said, women are able to look at how God has created men and women. Women are able to literally push out another human being from their bodies and go back to work. Whereas men, I know at least for myself, and my wife always jokes about this as well, is we stub our toe and we're out for a week. So having the ability to carry out certain tasks is really such a blessing, something that we shouldn't take for granted. One of my mentors yesterday, I was listening to an interview that she had given, and she was talking about her brother who was 64 years old and was born with muscular dystrophy. And so as he grows older, he's able to do less and less on his own. So she described going to his home the night before the interview and feeding him, and how feeding him takes several hours because he's at a point where the muscles in his throat are barely able to operate. And so someone like that, they're able to intubate them, they're able to feed them through other means. However, he insists that he wants to be fed. He wants to eat, and he wants to chew the food, he wants to swallow using his throat. This is a person who has the will to live. This is a person who has the will to survive. Someone who does not take ability, as small as it is in that moment, and as weak as he is physically, he does not take his ability for granted. And so I think this Ramadan particularly, and especially, we should think about the small things that we tend to take for granted. Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Holocaust, and many of you know of Viktor Frankl, or you've probably read his book, Man's Search for Meaning. He talks about how he was able to persevere, him and others, they were able to persevere through the horror that they experienced in the concentration camp, because they had the will to live, they had the will to survive. And the only way we are able to build up the will to live and survive and continue and thrive is when we do not take these blessings for granted. So even though we're at a disadvantage in terms of not being able to go about our lives as we had planned, and canceled holidays and canceled vacations and all of that, it becomes a blessing because now we can go back to the basics. Now we can go back to the fundamentals and think about all of the things that we may take for granted on a regular basis. So the question is, what are we doing with all of this ability that God has given us? And I heard one time that life is God's gift to us. What we do with our life is our gift back to him. So what are we doing with this gift that God has given us with? You know, you don't really have to be a big shot to go out there and serve the world. And so that's a message that I hope as faith leaders we are able to provide to our communities. And I'll end with this. You know, recently I was listening to what is known as the finest hour speech, or the finest hour talk by Winston Churchill. And it was in June of 1940, where the British forces were being kicked out of Germany. It was the beginning of the Great Battle of Britain. And the entire country, the entire, I guess, Commonwealth, you can call it, was at a pivotal moment. And it was on June 18th, 1940, where Winston Churchill walked into the House of Commons in London and he addressed them. And Winston Churchill wasn't a powerful, animated orator by any means, but he was powerful in the delivery of his message. And he talked about perseverance. He talked about the will to survive. He talked about the will to continue. And he said that if this nation is to last for 1,000 years, men will look back and they will see this moment in history as our finest hour. Our finest hour comes when we are able to persevere and when we're able to push forward despite our challenges. And it made me think of the interfaith community. It made me think of all of you, our friends who are on the front line serving, giving people faith, giving people love, giving people hope and inspiration. Because if we, as leaders, as community leaders, whether we are in the healthcare field or the religious leadership field or in law enforcement, if we don't give hope to people, if we don't give love and inspiration to people, then who is going to do that? You certainly won't find it watching the news. So that's our responsibility, my friends. And I hope I can leave you with that message because giving hope is giving life, and hope becomes the source of resilience. So I pray for your strength. I pray for all of our strength. I pray for the strength to be able to continue in our message, in our mission, to be able to give life to people. Again, I just want to close out by thanking Anila, Ali, and the AMWEC team, everyone who took time out of their day to put this together. Rabbi Zylberman, we're still going to get that lunch after all this is done. I owe you one. But thank you so much again, and Ramadan Mubarak to all of you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam. I do have a question for you,
Yes.
Rizwini. A lot of people have been asking us, saying, is this a test from God? Have we been bad? Could you address that? And then after that, I would like to have Rabbi Gersh also give us the Jewish perspective, and Father Alexie, could you share that as well? Is it that God is testing us with this? What do we say when people say, are we being tested? Are we such bad people?
Okay, good question. Language is important. The words we use are important. I don't know about test. I like to use the word challenge. Challenge to me sounds like something that can be overcome. Test to me sounds like something you can fail. Maybe that's because I didn't do too well in school. I don't know. Maybe that's why I have a challenge with the language, no pun intended. But I see it as a challenge, and challenges are overcome, and challenges give us the opportunity to look within, right? Sometimes when we're looking for solutions, we're always looking in the outer world. Sometimes we need to look within. I'll quote Imam Ali, who was the son-in-law of the Prophet Muhammad. There are a couple of lines of poetry that are attributed to him, and within that he says, both your illness and your cure are within you. Our illness is within us, but our cure is also within us. And there is no illness that God does not provide a cure to. So sometimes we need to look within ourselves.
Thank you. And Rabbi Gersh, what would you say? Oh,
I think you need to unmute him.
I know, I'm getting all these questions. Unmute audio. Unmute.
Thank you. We're playing the mute-unmute game. Anila, you ask a simple question, and this is one of the most profound questions. We know of so many situations where the evil might appear to prosper and the good seem to be punished, but how we envisage this depends on how we understand the nature of God. In my own understanding, which I think of as being part of the many ways Jews think about God, is that we are given we exist in a world in which there are laws of physics, laws of chemistry, and we wouldn't exist if there didn't exist viruses as well. So viruses, illness, death, that's all part of life. That's the price we pay for existence and consciousness. God is not in those things. God is in the power to overcome those things. Just as the Imam said, we have in us the cure. We have in us the intellect that God has given us to seek out the cures, to find the vaccine, God willing, in the not too distant future. We have the God-given power to join together against all odds, to come together to celebrate such a wonderful occasion as this, despite the difficulties, the strength of those who are in the front lines and helping in hospitals and law enforcement and elsewhere. God is in all of those things. It would be so easy just to give up and succumb to those things that befall us. But God gives us the strength and the hope to overcome.
Thank you, Rabbi Gersh. Off to Father Alexie.
Yes, I certainly concur with both my colleagues there, the Imam and the Rabbi. I cannot conceive of God punishing us by sending us the coronavirus. I take great consolation myself in praying the 23rd Psalm. One of the lines of that Psalm is, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." Jesus himself told us just before he ascended back to his Father that he would be with us till the end of the age. So I conceive of God in the person of Christ walking through the pandemic with us, comforting us, guiding us, enabling us to, empowering us to live through this and to be a solid person and friends and support to one another. But I certainly do not conceive of God punishing us by sending us this virus.
Thank you.
I would add just one more thing, and I think my colleagues would agree. Anyone who claims that this is a punishment and thinks they know what God is punishing, I think is greatly mistaken and is highly problematic and should be resoundingly opposed. And I've heard, not necessarily in the case of COVID, but in the case of other terrible tragedies, various representatives, or so-called representatives of various faiths who've stood up and claimed to know why God sent this hurricane or that flood. When you hear people doing that, I guarantee you something, they're wrong.
Yes, I agree.
And Rabbi Peter Levy, Rabbi Marsha, if you'd like to say a few words, because this, even, in my community, in my family, God is testing us. That's the first thing I hear when I call family, especially Muslims around the world, as I call them. What do you think?
Well, this is the age-old question, isn't it? I think one thing is we feel very comforted by falling back on some of the language, ideas, and the stories of our tradition that are very old, very ancient, because those are the familiar tropes. We think intellectually, just if I think about a relationship, with God, think about a different relationship, let's say, between my teenage kids and their prospective boy or girlfriend. And let's say if there's one person loves someone so much they'll do anything for them. The other says, well, I can take them or leave them. What do I care? When you think about who has the power in that relationship, it's the one who doesn't share so much love or power. And what we see is this idea of love and power being in inverse relationships. If you exercise maximum power, you can't show, but to show love means to pull back, means to be vulnerable, means, the relationship that we have with God in this world now is more of love. It's not that God has this power that can control everything. It's that God is with us on this journey. It's not that God is necessarily the king that controls everything, but God is a loving partner with us. The Jewish people every Friday night sing to God as a bride. And we understand that that's the nature of the relationship, which isn't there to fix our problem, but to give us strength and help us on the journey. And I think that's the metaphor like these that really works well for me.
I have ADIC, FBI, and I apologize for all the technical difficulties we've had. Can I ask everyone to mute themselves? And then he has a message for us on this Iftar.
Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak. Great vibration, so I will be brief. But thank you for allowing me to participate. I'm honored to celebrate with you. Thank you for the invitation. Crisis drives innovation. And over my 3 years here in Los Angeles, I've been invited to a number of Iftar dinners, but I am pleased to participate in this very first one by Zoom conference call. And yet I would have been surprised had my FBI technology worked flawlessly the first time. So nonetheless, I am pleased to be here. In my time here in Los Angeles, I've had the opportunity to meet with many friends and partners in the various communities, and I always come away impressed by the genuineness of these relationships. We are greatly appreciative of the inclusiveness of the communities of faith and the insights and generosity and assistance provided by faith-based communities and interfaith communities throughout Los Angeles in support of public safety and law enforcement. We deeply appreciate the outreach and dialogue that you have with the FBI and our law enforcement partners in a variety of ways. I've also had the opportunity to meet with many leaders across the communities, and one thing that has stood out is that interfaith dialogue can be a powerful tool for building and continuing to build these relationships. What has resonated from our previous meetings is that we must understand that what your concerns are, and that was such a diverse and large area to protect, and our limited resources, we need to have force multipliers and dialogue with you, our community leaders. Although this is a time of public crisis, faith-based institutions, as some of the previous speakers have noted, have unfortunately been targets of violence. In our recent memory, we've witnessed attacks on synagogues in Pennsylvania and Kansas and Poway, a Sikh temple in Wisconsin, against churches in Charleston, and even overseas in the Philippines and in New Zealand. We recognize that no faith is exempt from these threats. For that reason, it's even more important that we share this interfaith dialogue. It takes a whole of community approach to address these threats and to protect public safety. We recognize that trust, collaboration, and integration remain key to our ability to accomplish our collective mission of keeping people safe. And that's even more true in this unprecedented time. we recognize institutionally and individually that we're judged not only by what we do, but how we do it. And so we ask for your continued advocacy, your continued cooperation, the continued dialogue, the continued messaging and voice for our work and for our people. We're proud to have all of these interfaith partners as our friends in the community. I thank you again for inviting me to participate in this. I apologize for delaying past the precise moment of sundown, and I apologize also for following on the fine words of my predecessors and our esteemed guests. Thank you for the participation, and Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Mubarak. Thank you, ADIC. I need to learn some things from your technology people. I'm sorry I wasn't able to let you in, but we thank you, appreciate you for your time and for hanging in there for an hour and a half. Thank you. With that, I am going to ask young Ryan Syed. Ryan, how old are you?
I am 11 years old.
And what are you going to do today, right now?
I am going to read the Adhan for call for prayer.
MashaAllah. So without further ado, would you like to say the Adhan? And
Yes.
all of you who are breaking your fast, please join me virtually, and I'm sure that you have your iftar with you. Bismillah. Ryan.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة، قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
MashaAllah. Bismillah. And we usually open it with water and dates, which you can see. And we say this prayer. I don't know if Brother Khazwini is here who would like to recite the prayer that we pray. And also, if you could, Rabbi Gersh, could you unmute Imam Khazwini since you're the host now?
Okay, I'm on. The prayer is a very short prayer. I'll say it in Arabic and translate in English. Allahumma laka sumtu wa ala rizqika aftartu wa alayka tawakkaltu fataqabbal minni ya dhal jalali wal ikram. Oh Allah, I have fasted for you and on your sustenance I have relied. So please accept from me, oh the merciful, oh compassionate. Ameen.
Ameen.
Amen.
Ameen.
Ramadan Mubarak, everyone.
Thank
As
you.
we say in
Rabbi.
Hebrew, B'tei Avon, good appetite.
Yes, and I'm also missing all the Pakistani food that we so lovingly prepare for all our Jewish and interfaith brothers and sisters at the temple.
Yes. We'll have to imagine all those dishes.
Well, I can virtually share some iftars, some dates. But for those of you sisters who would like to eat iftar, you are welcome to go or stay. And I'm passing on the challenge to converse and have a dialogue with people, Maria Vasti from Pakistan, to Rabbi Gersh. And is our brother from Pakistan link here? Arif Mansuri, if you're here, please raise your hand. I guess I haven't found him. I'll try to bring him onto the panel, but everybody else, Sabine, you can join Rabbi Gersh. Sabine, are you there? Sabine Munib, Sabine Faryal. Rabbi Gersh, if you could get Anastasia, Sabine Faryal, If you could unmute them, then they will help you proceed
Yes.
with the conversation while I quickly go and get some Ru Afza.
Let's see, I've got Maria, I've got Stara, Iqbal. I'm not sure who else needs to be unmuted. Let's see.
Or perhaps at this time we unmute everybody since our iftar is over, and this is a interfaith conversation. It's national and global.
Could I leave?
Yes, you may.
I'm gonna unmute everyone. Anyone who wants to be muted can mute themselves. We've got some pretty famous actors here. Iqbal, I want to mention that I sent a text to my daughter, who was quite reluctant to jump on this webinar. You know, it's boring dad stuff. But I said, you know, we have a star from Glee on the panel, and she was very excited about that.
Just an actor, yeah. Dad, actually, I'm a dad first, then an actor. I used to be an actor until I became a dad. I'm a dad now, you know, and then an actor sometimes.
Got it. Well, it was thrilling to one of my daughters, at least, who's been allowed to watch Glee. The other ones are too young at this point.
Thank you, though. You're too kind.
So now, Iqbal, you are in the West Coast right now. You're in our time zone.
I am. In Los Angeles, yes.
You are, so you should be eating. I'm interrupting your ability to eat.
Actually,
right
I just did. I, had a few dates, water.
Okay,
So I'm good to go.
I don't want to. I don't want to take you away from having a nice big meal. But what we have, Maria Wasti from. You're in Pakistan right now. What time is it there?
Yes, it's 7:30 right now over here in the morning.
In the morning.
Yeah.
You're already tomorrow there.
7:40. Yes, it's already tomorrow there in the future.
So, well, it's nice to know that tomorrow will come.
Yes.
That's good to know from our perspective. You can never take that for granted, especially in the world we live in right now. How are things going with COVID where you are? Are you in Karachi or where are you?
I'm in Karachi right now, and there is a lot of confusion, like it is all over the world, because we don't know what this is, but we are trying to deal with it in whatever way possible. We are, the government is, and the people are, and the media is, but fortunately, we've not had too many cases, but with each day, the number is doubling. So that is kind of terrifying. And, the government is thinking of a proper lockdown, which is not happening, which the doctors say, and a lot of people are saying is the need of the hour. So I don't know what will be decided. Will it be like a curfew? Will it be like a total lockdown? Because I don't know how things are going to like really pan out. Because if people are, kind of locked, what will be the plan, the mechanism for people to get their food and other, things of necessity. So we are still kind of looking around for the answers, but let's see what happens. Yeah.
When these types of things happen, folks doubt or question the authorities often. Is the general populace in Karachi and throughout Pakistan accepting the need to protect themselves against COVID, or are there conspiracy
Some
theories?
people are, but not a lot of people are. But we are not drinking Lysol for a change.
Okay.
People have not started doing that.
It's
a relief.
I was in a hardware store today that was selling Clorox tablets for people to take. God forbid. Do not eat Clorox. Don't.
Please do not do that.
Don't.
Yeah.
Not good for you. Imam Kazwini, you should be eating right now too, but I'm just wondering from a Muslim perspective, do you recommend Clorox tablets?
I do not recommend.
No. Okay. Good. Okay.
Myself and every sane Muslim.
Okay. Good. Okay. We have that in common. Some of my people eat gefilte fish, which is an experience to behold. But we all agree on something. Okay. No drinking Lysol or Clorox. Iqbal, how is your family experiencing this COVID? You mentioned getting together for Ramadan and so on. Where does your family span across the globe?
Well, I'm in Los Angeles. I have kids, a family. We're all home. Schools are closed, of course. And then I'm also in touch with my folks in Karachi, my mom, my siblings, and they're all following all the protocols of COVID-19, staying at home. One of my nieces, she's going to start working, pretty soon because she has to. But mostly, they're all safe, thank God. And I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping that this thing, I don't know how long it's going to take. From Oklahoma. I went to University of Oklahoma, and they have I don't know if you guys know, they have a great football team, and we look so much forward to the games and watching them getting together. And and I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm hoping for the best, and I hope you all are, safe and sound at home. And thank you. And I've really enjoyed this iftar. In the beginning, I was really sure. I thought, oh my God, it's going to be so boring. But it's a lot of insights and great insights, very profound thoughts. So I'm so glad I'm part of it. And thank you, Anila. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you for being here.
Oh, pleasure.
When we celebrated Passover some weeks ago, we had a Zoom Seder, and we had family across the whole West Coast, also in Nashville, and all the way to Melbourne, Australia, where my folks are. In fact, my parents are listening in right now, and they're a little ahead of Pakistan. So I actually already knew, Maria, that tomorrow was going to come because I spoke to my parents, and it's a little bit later already. It's just a little afternoon. It's nearly 1 p.m. Melbourne time. So
well, I was part of a Passover dinner once a few years ago at a friend's house, and it was wonderful. And I was given a chance to read. You know how you guys, we all get together and read passages from the Old Testament and about. So it was beautiful. I enjoyed it so much.
Well, I hope you knew we were going to have to read a little pamphlet for a couple of hours before you're going to eat something. It's almost like a mini Ramadan fast. It's like 2 hours of reading.
Right.
So there's a little trick. Hopefully you got warned about that. Priest Bandara, I wonder if I could ask a question of you. One of my congregants texted me after your remarks and said, hold on a second, I thought Judaism was the oldest religion. How's this Zoroastrianism? I said, look, it's a friendly rivalry. So I want to ask the priest, come on.
You answered the question.
How far back does Zoroastrianism go? What's the beginning of time for Zoroastrianism? See, we're in the year 5780, so we go back 5,780 years.
There are different books of schools of thought. Some say it's 1800 years ago, because at that time there was no written history, so we don't know exactly. Some say it goes up to 10,000 years ago.
Oh, wow.
BC. So that is how it is.
All right, we'll call it a rivalry among friends. How about that?
Rabbi Gersh, if you find Anastasia Selberis and Sabine and I think Faryal have questions for a lot of our panelists. If you
we have questions for, you want me to open up for Anastasia? Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Rabbi.
Sabine.
And Sabine. Okay, I've unmuted Sabine.
And Faryal.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Anastasia Selberis, and I'm a Greek Orthodox Christian board member of AMWEC. You may remember me as a guest speaker at last year's Iftar. And just as I did last year, I'm also here representing on behalf of California Southern University. And we actually have a handful of our interfaith staff attending. So hello to Dr. Feinstein Hecht, our wonderful owner, who encourages us to sponsor iftars like this and encourages our diversity. And Khalid, Magdalena, Manila, Mo, thank you to you all for joining tonight. And as a 100% online university with undergrad and graduate students in 85 different countries all over the world, and an extremely diverse administration, staff, and faculty, it's really our pleasure to continue to sponsor these iftars. We're excited to sponsor next year's, regardless of if it's another virtual one, and any other talks that AMWEC does, we're always happy to be a part of. So we just wanted to wish our Muslim community a Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem, and thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of this.
Thank you, Sabine.
Thank you.
I have actually a couple of questions from Maria. So my name is Sabine. I'm a Pakistani-American physician. And first of all, this question is from me, Maria. What did you guys do right? Because Pakistan has less than 1/8 cases of COVID positive patients there than, you know, United States. We have seen such a huge spread here. And in Pakistan, it's commendable. So can you please comment, like, what did you guys do right? Which actually we all learn from each other's experiences. So maybe, you know, for our future, you know, you can make some comments.
Sure. I think we were as confused as, you know, the whole world, what was happening. And we have borders with China and with Iran. And, you know, there are a lot of cases from Iran, and a lot of Zyrene were coming from there. I think most of whatever is reported, it came from with the Zyrene from Iran to Pakistan. And I think at that time when the borders were closed, I think that helped a lot at that time. Then afterwards, when the people came in, I still think personally, I think enough testing is not being done right now. But yes, we have had less cases than were predicted. Now they're growing because of whatever was maybe brought into Pakistan, and from one person to the other, it's spreading. But measures are being taken, and the height we thought it would, come to, it hasn't. I mean, like shukar is baat ka. But I think at the right time, the borders were closed. So that helped a lot. And the flights were closed as well. So that kind of helped. But I really don't know right now that with the trains and the other transportation that took people from all those places to around the country, how many are affected. But they're not being reported. Otherwise, they would have been reported, in all those numbers. But I guess that was one of the main reasons. But still, I feel the testing has to be done. More cases will come, because now they are kind of doubling, and we are trying to, kind of control that.
And the second question is actually from somebody. What is our artist or star community doing in Pakistan to bring up the morale of people?
Oh, a lot of people, a lot of people in my community, in the media, all aspects of media. They are always there. Whenever we are asked for an interview, to come and participate, or to do endorsements, like, for what, kind of the precautions and everything, or to talk about it, we are, all of them, I think most of them are always there, readily available, like not saying, no, I'm not available, I can't do this, so that everybody is kind of there. They're trying to spread. And because we say all these things, because we have to, kind of practice it ourselves as well. And we are trying to, I am trying to spread it and to talk to people, whoever I can, and to make them understand, because you see a lot of people, the people are, of all mindsets. Some of the people over here believe that it's just not there, because maybe it has not spread the way it has spread in maybe America and other countries and other places. So a lot of people, think that maybe it's not there, it's kind of made up, there are conspiracy theories and everything like that. But, to make them understand that, all right, even if you believe in it or you don't believe in it, you have to understand that what if it is there? So it is not only for you, it is for other people to be safe from you. And these are just hygiene things that you need to double up and practice, and you have to make them understand, especially your staff and the people who are around you. So yes, it's a constant thing. It's a constant hammering that you have to do, because in the beginning, even we had to hammer ourselves. Oh my God, we have to, wash our hands. We have to do this, because you had to get in the habit of it. So it was kind of, it took some time, I think, for everybody to get into that, circle of practicing all that, and a lot of people were afraid, and everybody was freaking out as well. And, but now that is settling down, and we are kind of trying to make it a part of our lives, how to disinfect all the doorknobs and, the car or whatever, and not to go out. We are trying to get into that. And the media has been, there, the media, the news channels and otherwise, people have been kind of there and, trying to hammer it so that people listen to us.
That's good to hear. I know that Pakistan has been lauded by the in charge from WHO in Pakistan. He said Pakistan's done it right. And I think they have been, correct me if I'm wrong, they've been testing since November, December.
Yep, you're right. Yeah.
So we hope, this is the time for us to just pray that we find a cure. And I'm really saddened to hear every time that the number of teachers who have died in New York goes up.
Yeah.
And
yes.
I'm a teacher, and one of my biggest fears was that, yes, as I go in, I see 200 kids a day. And, the only thing I think will save us is if we find a cure. And I hope someone does it. Yal, on to you.
Nadia, this question is for you. So during Ramadan, everyone gets together for prayer. And I think it's somewhat challenging trying to stop some people from getting together. And so how are you guys handling that over there?
Well, that is one of the biggest problems that we're facing, because in some places there's a smart lockdown, as they call it. Like, you have to open up the grocery stores and certain essential places, but then they say that the mosques and other places have to be open. So in certain places, in certain provinces, it's like not in Karachi maybe, but maybe in Punjab and other places, they have a system of a smart lockdown where you go for, not like a lot of people go to the mosques, and there's a distance that you have in one namazi, between the namazis and everything, and that is being checked. I am personally not very satisfied with the whole thing, but it is, they're trying to do this, and they're trying to convince people that it's all about life, but people are very, very emotional in Pakistan when it comes to religion, very emotional, and they want to go to the mosques. And some people are understanding, and they're also saying that a certain age of, like, if you're over 50, don't go to the mosques. They're trying that. They're trying to convince people, but there's a lot of, passion, and for Ramadan, people they want to go to the mosques. So they're trying to convince them, and they're trying to follow the precautions that are being given, but it is a little tricky over here when it comes to that.
I have a quick question from a panel, from an attendee. He's asking, I was curious how each of the religious groups are staying in touch with their congregations during these times.
Imam Kazwini, you want to go first?
Zoom.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot more on Zoom. I was telling the youth, because we had a session with our youth group on Saturday. Normally, we have 2 youth group sessions a month. Now we're up to about 6. Ramadan, we continue to have our program. We do a talk, a lecture every night on Zoom. So that's what we're able to do in terms of teaching. And then in terms of people who actually need help with groceries or different things, we also have a core of dedicated volunteers who show up, pack food, and go around and distribute to those who are in need. So we do what we can with the tools.
Chris Bandara?
Same thing. We do the ceremonies over the Zoom. Every Sunday mornings, we have a Hambandagi, a communal prayer, which we did even today morning. And besides that, whatever we have to do, the ceremonies during the week, again, we do it in the evening over the Zoom. And also we do a lot of social, not a lot, some social work in terms of people in need. We take the food to them. And if they have to go somewhere, we take them and those kind of things.
Yeah. Well, we've moved to Zoom for everything. Some life cycle events have been postponed, like bar and bat mitzvahs. We gave folks the opportunity to do them via Zoom, but most families elected to wait. We don't know how long we're going to have to wait. We actually have one of our daughters is scheduled for a bat mitzvah in December, and we don't know what that's going to be like. Maybe only 10 people can be there in person. Maybe, who knows? Will the family from Australia be able to fly here? We don't know. Funerals, I'm sure all of us, unfortunately, have had to officiate at funerals. Very limited number of folks can attend and need to be distanced. We can't meet people in person. So we meet over Zoom in preparation. And so far, I haven't had to do a wedding yet, but I know some of my colleagues on the East Coast, I think in the state of New York, they've allowed Zoom weddings. But I don't think I haven't heard about it here on the West Coast.
I think in the Muslim community, what they're doing is, if they had weddings planned, they're going ahead with what we call the nikah, which is the Islamic ceremony, and it is within the family. Some are happening on Zoom, but some of them that had started, like, a lot of my family weddings, they had started, so they were already, they had congregated somewhere in some part of the world, England and Dubai and Pakistan. They just decided that in the confines of their home, they will dress up and do the imam and bring the imam and do a virtual wedding.
Yeah, the nikah.
Nikah.
Yeah, the nikah.
Call it the nikah.
But virtual honeymoons, that would save a lot of money.
That would.
Yeah, virtual tours, that would save a lot of money.
Yes.
I'm not an official faith leader, but on behalf of the Greek Orthodox and the Eastern Orthodox Christian Church, what we've been doing is a lot of our services, liturgies, because we just came through Lent and Easter ourselves. We're actually, the Eastern Church is about a week after this year. It changes on different years. So what we've been doing is we do YouTube, Facebook Live.
Yeah, I think that's because of the Jewish calendar.
Part of that plays into it, Rabbi.
Yeah, sorry.
That's great. So yes, we do Facebook Lives, YouTube for our services. We have members of our philanthropic society making food and providing whatever else the community needs, those who are in need, those who are sick. And then we do Zoom for our youth groups. So I'm very proud of my community for understanding and listening to our local governments and understanding what is needed of us during this time, but also leveraging technology to still stay connected, preserve our traditions, and continue to practice our faith. So that's what we're doing on our end.
Anila,
I would add one thing. I didn't mention, of course, like the other religions, we do have in our Jewish community folks who are volunteering to help with groceries and helping those who really are at risk and stuck at home. But the surprising service that we have been providing that has been very helpful is tech support. The number of people who didn't have webcams or didn't know how to use Zoom, and we have a number of folks at our synagogue who are really helping people get online, and it's really amazing to see. So we had this past week a couple in their 90s. The husband will turn 100, God willing, in about 6 weeks, and they were on our Zoom Shabbat service call, and we could see them and they could see us, and it was really such a joyful moment. They'd been calling in by phone. We knew they were there, but they couldn't see us. We couldn't see them. And
please send somebody. My mother needs help.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to do
Okay.
that. She's still, you know,
Work on
kind of
that.
struggling with it.
I have a question for my two active friends, Iqbal and Maria. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. How does this COVID situation has affected your guys' livelihood? Are the studios open? Is filming continuing or?
No,
No,
everything is
everything is-
closed.
Everything is
All
closed?
closed. No meetings, no nothing's going on. And it's going to stay that way for, I don't know how long. I read in one of the trades that they're looking at some countries that are allowing, who are opening up the economies and the studios, and maybe, you know, some of the productions can, you know, fly out there and, you know, and shoot films and television shows. But in USA, there's nothing happening. Everything is closed.
Yeah, and you are not allowed to fly internationally, I think.
I'm sorry?
International flights are closed out of
Right. So that's another problem. So we'll see.
And Maria?
Yeah, well, most of the work obviously is, you know, nothing is happening except for the news channels. As you know, the news channels are working. I do a show. I host a show with a news channel. We used to have audiences there. So we are now trying, there are no audiences there. And I'm kind of alone there with, you know, 3-4 cameramen or something in a huge studio. So we're trying to do that some way because it's a news studio and we're doing a program for that. So just that, but not the drama.
Okay, thank you.
So, you know, that is full throttle, nothing is happening, you know, and everybody is like, you know, because you see shootings are happening and have to happen in different, you know, all over Pakistan. So, you know, nobody's ready to do it. Some of the actors don't want to do it, or the production houses or the channels. So it's not like that, you know, like it's not happening right now. Yeah.
Faryan.
I have a couple of questions for both Maria and Iqbal. And this is from one of my friends. And it's, what's the favorite role you've ever played? So it's off the COVID subject. But what's the favorite role you've ever played and why? So Maria, can we start with you? And then we'll go to Iqbal.
Favorite role that I've played? You know? Okay. Now, you know, I've been working, for, 15, 20 years. You know, I've done quite a few things. I must be, you know, forgetting now. But no, you know, I've favorite roles that I did. I did Banu Kutsia ka maine kiya tha a long time back when I started working. It was a classic that I did. I did some classics of Banu Kutsia. One was Kallo that I did that has always stayed with me. That has been very special for me. I did that. Then I did Badlo Mein Basera that we shot in America. Then one was Ashiana. Then Bhuta from Toba Takes Sing. So there are a few that I did, and they got they got famous over here in Pakistan, and I enjoyed doing those.
For those of you who are joining us and don't know what Pakistanis and a lot of Muslims like to do, who speak Urdu and Hindi, they watch dramas. And a lot of my students who I've been mentoring, they've been saying, "Oh, I'm sick and tired of my mom's watching dramas all the time." So Maria is a world famous phenomenon. But I admire you, Maria, for the women's rights activism that you do for us, and the voice that you give to all of us, and it means a lot to us. I know that you a lot of times put your life at risk. So I appreciate that, and I thank you as a Pakistani American Muslim woman here. I also have another participant. She's very quiet, but she's perhaps observing very quietly. She's a very good Pakistani journalist. And Rabbi, if you could unmute Sherbano, she's sitting quietly and she's probably going to give...
Oh, Sherbano is here. We went to court together.
I'm not seeing where she is.
Perhaps
I'll answer the question because
yes, she's there.
There she is.
She's there.
If you could unmute her, Sherbano, if you have any questions for our clergy or famous actors and actresses, and any one of us, please ask, because we know that you are the person who will get the message out to the Muslim world, and that's your reach.
Thank you so much, Anila, for inviting me to watch this Zoom meeting. COVID has changed everything, and this is how we are meeting virtually. Recently, we met physically too. Anastasia, Zylberman,
Iftar.
Paris, and Maria,
Yeah,
and
we were
you and
there.
me.
We had
Yeah,
such a
we were
great
there.
time.
Yeah,
I'm
I still
so
remember.
glad we got to go to Thar before all of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Anila, for giving us this opportunity to meet. I have written a few questions in the question box, but probably you haven't seen that. I was just thinking about that so many community leaders are there, and whatever we are facing, whatever we are going through, Maria has also told us, and other stars have told us. Anila has also, and our community leaders have definitely summarize all the situation which we are all going through. But as a media person, we are also the first responders, because probably I am in the office. I was the last one in the office who started working from home. Otherwise, I was going, and till March. I mean, the third week of March, I was there in the office, and I was daily going and having that threat that why are you coming to office? So I was just thinking about that, what you people think. Why don't we this problem is an opportunity too. So can we think about a plan, because the economy of the world has been totally in devastation. So are we planning for a good economy in future? Because once this COVID-19 is over, then a lot of devastation has already been done, as we are seeing that lot many people are being laid off, and they are losing their jobs, and there are also people who are still sitting at home, and they are adopting those professions like health workers, like tailors, like shopkeepers. uh, these are the people who have already lost their jobs. What we are going to do in future, what economy will be in future, number one. Number two, uh, as a lot of discussion has been done on whether it is a test from God or it's a challenge from God. Uh, I mean, it can be a challenge, it can be a test, or it can be a nature's correction. This is what we are thinking. But whatever it is, after this, do we want to have, because the COVID-19 is also telling us to be mindful of each other, to help each other, I mean, all faiths are saying these things. So, what will be the future of the world, with lot of passion for each other, with having economy which is supporting everyone, and having an environment which will be feasible for everyone?
What do you think, Rabbi Gersh? That's a very difficult question for me.
I've had some difficulty kind of understanding with the sound. Could you repeat the question?
Can you hear me properly? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is it clear to you now?
Yes and no. Let me just rephrase. Shirvana was asking, after this crisis is over, how is the world going to unite and help the people who have lost jobs, who have lost their lives? How do we do a jump start or a restart? What are your thoughts as leaders, faith leaders? And
yeah. Well, the short answer is one word: together. We all have to be in it together. Some folks have gone into this with more resources, a better place to survive through this. Others, not so much. So those who have to help those who don't. And we all have to, we have to assume that the world is not a zero-sum game, that what I get is a loss to someone else. We have to see the world as we're all in this together. We all gain together. Easier said than done, but certainly it involves coming together as faith communities and across the political spectrum to find solutions rather than find ways to fight about things.
What do you think, Iqbal Teba?
I'm sorry?
Passing it on to Iqbal. Iqbal,
Well,
what do you think?
I do know that, I mean, I'm a kind of a person who does not take anything for granted, every meal, I have, every hug I, receive and give. But I think I'm going to be even more, I think, mindful of who I am and appreciate even more some of the simplest of things in life, because someone was asking me, what do you want to do when this is over? I said, I just want to see my friends, give them a hug, go out for a meal. And then, that's the thing that I think it's taught us that we need to appreciate, what we have, and because we take things for granted, really we do. Now I can't even go out, without wearing a mask, out at a store or anywhere I want to go, and it's a completely different world. It's incredible. Sometimes I, pinch myself, asking myself, oh my God, is this really happening? So I'm also, trying to write, more than I used to. So this is the perfect time. I'm home. I have 2 teenage kids, so, and I'm a busy man. And when I have time, I sit down and write. So hopefully something good will come out of it.
Yeah. Brother Khazvini, I know that you have a live stream going on, so I would ask you to tell us, what do you think is going to come out of this? How will we as a world community cope? And then you are welcome to, I know you have a webinar.
I second what both Rabbi Zylberman and what Iqbal were saying. And I'd like to add to that Rabbi Zylberman said it's realizing that the world is not zero sum. And I think one of the biggest challenges that we face is the lens by which we see the world. We don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. And so if we have a scarcity mindset, win-lose, then we're going to look at the resources that are made available as, I need to get mine and I need to look after myself. But the world, I believe, is not a zero-sum world. We can think in terms of win-win. When I think about what it tells me, one of the 99 names of God is Al-Kabir, which translates to the abundant. So God is an abundance God, a God of abundance, not a God of scarcity. And the Quran describes when Adam was placed onto this world, and God said to him that there is enough in it that you shall never go hungry or thirsty, nor shall you go without shelter or without clothing. And so there are more than enough resources. And so if we can take this time and instill that mindset into ourselves and our communities and our families, I think we've done most of the work if we can achieve that.
You reminded me of something that has been occurring to me every day since COVID started, that, we look at the 99 names of Allah and we just recite them and we don't think about how important the meaning of each one is. And as I was trying to find peace within and find out, why is this happening? Are we really bad human beings? I turned to those names, and, Ya Hayyu, Ya Qayyumu, the protector, the curer, the merciful, the compassionate. All of a sudden, they just hit home right directly to my heart. And I put a lot of my prayers aside And I just started reciting names of Allah because He is the curer, He is the creator, He is the protector, and we are just mere creations. So I'm thankful that you said that. It makes me feel happy about my prayers. Thank you, Brother Fazlini. If you need to go, you are.
Thank you. I am going to beg your leave because
But before you go, I wanted to say, Imam Sahib, you know, it's such a pleasure to listen to a religious leader that I can actually listen to, you know, because unfortunately, if I go to a mosque, usually it's pretty boring. They are not used to the vernacular or don't know it. You know, and somebody like me who's, you know, more of a, you know, I inspire, you know, to find God rather than, I'm not really, I don't know what faith is really, but definitely, you know, I think in terms of your inspiration, you know, that's what like Quran means to me. And it was such a pleasure to listen to you and you know, keep doing what you're doing. And I wish, you know, more people, you know, sounded and, you know, reasoned like you and were more humane rather than, you know, trying to fill our hearts with, you know, the fear, you know, of Allah and God and, you know, this this God who loves to put, you know, people in hell and so vengeful. And it's nothing like, you know, what I like. Every surah in Quran begins with, you know, compassion and mercy, you know, Rahman and Rahim, and we tend to forget that, you know. So thank you. I hope to see you sometime, you know, in person and meet you and carry on this conversation. Thank you.
Rabbi Gersh, what do you say? We should have a round table of like-minded.
I think that would be great.
Okay, so inshallah, when COVID ends, that will be one of them. And thank you, Brother Fazlini. You are always there for us. And you see, you have a huge fan base and it's increasing.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I'm anything that I know is just what I learned from other leaders. And I'm blessed by my friendship with the interfaith faith community and especially Rabbi Zylberman and Iqbal. You keep me entertained, man. So I just
my pleasure. You know, hopefully I'll do more of it. Hopefully soon.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Mom.
And I have to go in like 5 minutes. So
I think
Anila, actually, I have one perhaps
question to you, Nas.
Yes, one last question. I think this is a great way to wrap it up, actually. One of our attendees is asking to our AMWEC, to my AMWEC sisters, when will there be another opportunity for them to join something like this? Anila, you mentioned perhaps a roundtable. What will AMWEC be doing, not just after COVID-19, but during it, to keep us united with our interfaith community and also allowing the attendees to participate and even say a few words?
Thank you, Nas. I think that's a really important question. We have been doing a series of interfaith events. We've been bringing in our Asian American community as well with our young Muslim leaders and talking about racism and, you know, just making sure that we stand with every community that needs us, because many communities stood by us when we needed them. So we've had a lot of those. Our doctors like Sabine Munib and Rubila Shfaq that are on our board have been hosting a lot of those webinars. We've been doing a lot of these live webinars where we encourage you to join us, ask questions, because I know that this is the time that we've all realized that we're all really interconnected. Like now, Rabbi Gersh is really connected to Pakistan, and we are all interdependent on each other. And so what happens in one country, it directly affects us. So no longer can we say, oh, it's happening way back in Pakistan or Yemen or Syria. No, we're a global community. And when, you know, a virus comes, it does not discriminate. So we'll be doing another series of interfaith cooking. The next one is going to be Dinah Frieden is going to be talking to Mama Ji. She's a really famous, she's become an actress, but she's one of our AMWEC women, and she has a huge following. So she's going to be cooking from her halal kitchen to a kosher kitchen. And our aim is in this month to show how we can cook together, come together, eat together, even though it's going to be after COVID is over. But please join us in the series. One of them is also going to have Anastasia and Sabahat Aziz, who is also a board member. So that's going to be an effort to bring together love, faith, cooking, and just warm your hearts through Ramadan. So please join us, like our page and send Interfaith cards on our website. I keep posting that because that is how you can support what we're doing. If you like what we're doing, I ask you to make sure that you send cards, and they are for all faith-based communities. And if I have missed any, send me a beautiful picture and I will add that and convert it to a card. But please make sure you go to www.amwec.com. You can definitely donate if you like what we're doing, or you can send an e-card and sign our manifesto. I do have a sister from our AMWEC, Rubila. She is saying something, so I'm just going to find her. Rabbi Gersh, you're going to have to do that. Rubila. Dr. Rubila Ashfaq is on, and she's raising a hand to say something.
Okay, I've just unmuted her. She may need to unmute herself as well.
Okay, Rubila, yours is the last word. Rubila?
She needs to unmute herself.
While she's unmuting, Faryal and Rabbi Gersh, should we just wish our viewers goodbye?
Yes, I guess I can stop the live stream, the Facebook live stream. Is that what you're asking me to do?
Well, I just want you to wish everybody goodbye, and I thank my friends from Pakistan, Maria Vasti, Sher Bano, and everybody else that joined from wherever you were. And I know it's Ramadan. I asked a lot of you. Thank you for joining us. This is a beautiful interfaith gathering, and may this go on forever. Thank you, Pastor Ken Wyant. If we can have a word from you, I'm going to try and unmute you. Rabbi Gersh, if you can unmute Pastor Ken Wyant, get the last few words from everybody if they want to say anything.
Blessings for everyone. What a beautiful evening. And thank you so much, Anila, and all the participants for coming together for such a meaningful time of affirmation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And
thank you,
Anila.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Ramadan Mubarak to all.
Bye.
Bye.
Ramadan.